Welcome back. Today I want to talk about why the parasympathetic system. Forrest on your channel, oh my God, over and over again. The parasympathetic system, the parasympathetic system, the parasympathetic system. You're like a broken record. Why is that? Because I want to give you the very first key. So let's get into why the parasympathetic system is that very first key. It is your key to unlocking all of meditation. So let's get into it. When we're in the sympathetic system, we are over aroused, we are hyper, we are anxious, we are intense. And there are a lot of times in our life when we need that intensity. Oh my God, I have to concentrate. Oh my God, this guy cut me off and this guy's coming this way and this guy's coming this way. I need all of that energy and attention to deal with this road situation in this moment. You need some of that, right? That's why it's built into you. It's very, very wonderful for a crisis situation. But the thing we have to learn in our modern times is that we are not always in a crisis situation. In fact, we can relax and let go and be calm and accept most of the time. And I think it's worthwhile to realize that not so very long ago, life was not as intense as it is now. What was that wonderful video that a high school teacher put together? He said something along the lines, do you realize that the New York Times newspaper contains more information than all of the libraries of Alexandria? The amount of information that is coming to you on a continuous basis is just absolutely mind-boggling compared to 100 years ago. And your nervous system was not meant for all of this constant stimuli. So you have a prefrontal cortex which puts you out into the future so that you can imagine problems and so prepare yourself and deal with those problems. But we overuse it and we use it for minor things and we get stressed out constantly, which is why there is so much anxiety in the world today, which is why more than ever we need Navi Kriya, we need HRV resonance, we need these tools in our life, and the core of those tools is your own parasympathetic system. Just like you, the yogis found out that controlling your own mind is quite difficult. So if you've attempted meditation and you said, oh my God, I cannot control my mind, this is crazy, you're not alone. The ancient yogis came to the very same problem, and they didn't have as much stimulation as you do in your modern era. So just imagine the problem which they saw and you're seeing, it's much bigger today because of all of the constant stimulation. So more than ever, you need the answer which they discovered. Look, I'm not gonna grab the mind directly. It doesn't work that way. I'm going to calm the body. And that calmness in the body will reflect back on the mind and it will affect the mind coming from behind. I gave you guys this principle of coming from behind, right? So we're going to come behind the mind and affect the mind rather than trying to deal with the problem head on. It will not work head on. We have to come through the body. And that's the key of the parasympathetic system, the very first key which unlocks all of meditation. Whenever I think of the parasympathetic system, I always think of a mullet. I always remember this joke every time I think about it. And it's just hilarious to me. Do you remember the mullet and what they would say about it? It looked, you looked very normal from the front, and then the guy turned around and he had all of this long hair, and it was just hilarious. Do you remember this hairstyle? Oh my goodness. And they used to say, look, it's business in the front, party in the back. And that is your parasympathetic nervous system, except it's backwards. You have party in the front, business in the back. And the way this works, your ventral vagal, so the vagal comes down from the brain and it splits into two complexes. One complex runs all throughout the front of the body. And this is where we engage into the body. So when you are comfortable at home, when you feel safe at home with your family, with your friends, and you're sitting down to a meal, or you're sitting down to a movie, or you're sitting down and having a conversation, and you're sitting down, maybe you're having a small birthday party, that outward engagement with your family in a loving, safe environment is engaging your ventral vagal. And when you listen to the polyvagal theory people, this is the part of the parasympathetic system which they love because they want you to come back to normal. We want you to engage in a safe way, feeling safe, feeling happy and alive in your ventral vagal with your family and your friends. So that's the part of the system which they emphasize on the front of the body. It's coming up from the gut, going straight into your face. And that's why as soon as you feel something in your gut, we can see it immediately in your face. That ventral vagal just channels all of that energy straight up into your face, and it's myelinated for speed. It's like a superhighway from your gut straight into your face, and that's why we see everything that you feel in your face. That's the party in the front. And then in the back, it's all the business. But it's the sacred business of the yogis. This is the portion of the ventral vagal which the yogi is, oh my God, I'm so in love with it. I'm just absolutely in adoration of that dorsal vagal complex, as I'm sure you know. This is the portion which leads us into the freeze response. That freeze response is interiorization, which all of the yogis have been talking about. So you read the Yoga Sutras, and what does Patanjali tell us about? Pratyahara, that interiorization. And what is the system giving you that interiorization? It is the parasympathetic system, the key. And what does it give you over time when you engage the dorsal vagal over and over and over again? It gives you the freeze response. The freeze response is absolutely wonderful. You use it every time you sleep at night. It's completely normal. So you go into the freeze response while you're sleeping in bed, and you have a dream, and you don't roll out of bed or walk away, right? You're in the freeze response. It keeps you frozen in your bed. So it's very, very wonderful when you're sleeping at night. And the deep yogi, that business in the back, we're in the business of the freeze response. And that wonderful freeze response comes over us in deep meditation. It quiets the body dramatically, makes you feel absolutely wonderful in your meditation. Over time, it becomes blissful. And that deep interiorization that washes over you quiets the mind dramatically. And that's why it's the first key. That is interiorization. And now you are halfway through the Yoga Sutras. You've really reached a turning point. So in my book, I talk about, okay, we're going to use HRV resonance, that long out breath, this long breathing, right? We're going to use that tool to engage the dorsal vagal complex. Each of those long out breaths puts pressure on the dorsal vagal, and it awakens that portion of your parasympathetic system. It awakens that, it begins to wash over you, you continue to sit very still, and finally the freeze response begins to arise. Before that, once we're in HRV resonance, we'll notice that our hands get hot and heavy. And this is a wonderful sign that you are indeed engaging the parasympathetic system. It's happening already. That usually happens the very first time the meditator sits down with HRV resonance. They use the long breathing, it engages the parasympathetic system, and they start to notice the proofs. And that's your proof that you are doing this correctly. It's actually working inside of you, creating changes in your body as you engage that dorsal vagal complex. So the hands hot and heavy. As you relax, as you enter into that parasympathetic system, the arteries are going to dilate. And so more blood, instead of being stressed and constricted, more blood is going to flow into your hands and pool into your hands. You're also coming out of the sympathetic system. The hands will actually get dry. That's something that you might not notice because it's a little bit subtle. But once you've been in the parasympathetic system and suddenly something happens, you go back into your sympathetic system, you'll notice that your palms are slightly sweaty. And that's because as soon as you enter into the sympathetic system, the hands will start to sweat. And so as you come out of that, in the deep parasympathetic system of the dorsal vagal, that beautiful business in the back for the yogi, as we get into that, the hands will actually dry out. But we just mostly notice the warmth and the heat. Sometimes people say, oh, I didn't get hands hot and heavy. They only got warm. That's it. You did it. Oh my God, you did it. The hands are warm. Perfect. Hands hot and heavy. Being in the parasympathetic system, the heart will start to vary. And that means it goes up and it goes down. The heart rate goes up a little bit to do the work of breath in the heart and pumping the blood, and then it goes down. And so it's entering into this very natural cycle of continuous work, relax, work, relax, work, relax. It's this beautiful, beautiful cycle. This is the normal cycle of your body when you're in relaxation. And what happens in the sympathetic system when you're in stress? Work, 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 no rest. And so we eventually break because there is no recovery. That's what's dangerous about a continuous sympathetic arousal. There's no recovery. So what is the first thing that the parasympathetic is doing? It's establishing HRV resonance in your body. And you enter into this beautiful cycle of work, relax, work, relax. And that's the variance of the heart rate. So when you breathe in, the heart rate will go up a little bit. And then as you breathe out that nice long out breath of HRV resonant breathing, then the heart rate will go down beautifully. And that's the recovery. So now your body is actually recovering, maybe for the first time in quite a while. And it's just gargantuan. It's so huge. Oh my God. That variance up and down, you might feel it in your lips, especially the bottom lip. The blood will come in, the blood will go out, and the lips might begin to tingle. It's the second proof, right? That third proof, we're creating all this pressure with that nice long out breath along the dorsal vagal. It's causing extra pressure in the thoracic cavity as we breathe out the long out breath, and that beautiful, wonderful massage-like pressure is reaching all the way back to the dorsal vagal, which lays along the spine. So between your heart and your spine, that's where the dorsal vagal lies all the way along, and you're putting pressure on along all of that. So you might feel some of that pressure going backwards along the dorsal vagal. You might feel like tingling. You might feel expectant, wonderfully expectant. It might feel blissful. It might feel, calming, relaxing, letting go. Beautifully, right? You might notice any of that, and that is noticing the dorsal vagal complex. You're noticing that pressure along it and the feelings that it's giving you. That's a third proof. Profound, wonderful, deep proof that you have engaged this dorsal vagal complex of the parasympathetic system. As you continue to sit still in all of that, you may notice that your skin starts to tingle. And this is some of that attention being withdrawn from the outward body. It's being withdrawn just a little bit, and you feel that tingling in your skin. You might feel it in your face. You might feel it in your hands. You might feel it in your arms, or the upper body, or the lower body. You could feel it anywhere. You could feel it all over the body. If you feel it all over your body, that's quite blissful, isn't it? Those are the 4 proofs, and it means you've actually engaged your parasympathetic system. You keep bathing in that. So I do a little bit of the HRV resonant breathing. I control my breath to engage that properly. And then I enjoy that. I let go. I just enjoy those good feelings. And if it starts to fall apart, then I'm going to go back and do more of the breathing. Engage it again. And then I sit and I enjoy it. And what is this? This is the do-be, right? That's the do-be-do system. We engage that parasympathetic of the dorsal vagal over and over again, and this is what deeply, deeply unlocks this key of the dorsal vagal complex. You get into the freeze. This is what causes the interiorization so that you can reach the next stage of clarity. Only with that clarity can you actually begin to meditate. The meditation didn't actually begin until you reach clarity, after you've started to touch the freeze response. This is what Patanjali tells us. First interiorization, then clarity, then absorption, then samadhi. That meditation is absorption. The true form of meditation is absorption. So it's all about doing a little bit of the work, getting into that freeze, enjoying the freeze until I reach clarity, bathing in that clarity, becoming the holy potato. As soon as I engage the parasympathetic system, I'm going to soak in that. Oh my God, it's small, Forrest. Yes, soak in it. And next time it will be a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger, and it will come faster and faster because you're soaking it into yourself. You're soaking it into your body, into your subconscious. You're creating these pathways which are going to become more and more reliable. One time I sat down to meditate and I started to do my Kriya Yoga technique, right? I'm doing the technique, I'm doing the do, right? And all of a sudden, bam, this freeze response just slams down on me. And luckily I was nice and mentally relaxed and I didn't freak out like sometimes happens. You come into an experience and oh my God, what's happening? Totally normal. But I didn't this time. It just wham, came over me and my whole upper chest was completely frozen into place. And it forced my breath all the way down deep in the belly. And I went straight into the freeze response and the tranquil breath. I thought, oh my God. So we're not doing any technique. Not today. We're just going to go straight into the depth. And I thought, oh my God, it's cumulative. You're creating pathways. You're creating habits in the body and the subconscious. You're creating these pathways in the brain. It becomes more and more reliable. So you reach this point, as Om Swami said beautifully. In fact, I recommend his book on Gayatri Mantra. Absolutely wonderful. Om Swami, he said at a certain point, you stop doing the meditation. And the meditation starts doing you. We do the meditation, and then we be. And that being, it takes over. It starts to do you. That's the secret. It all begins with the parasympathetic system. It all starts there. It's the first yogic key. It's so gargantuan. When you're doing Om Japa in the chakras, you're also working on that pathway as well. And that's why you hear the yogis talk about the spine. The spine, the spine, the spine, the spine. What's along the spine? The dorsal vagal. That's what they're actually talking about. They're talking about the dorsal vagal complex. The spine, the spine, the spine, it's all the dorsal vagal complex. In my book, I said, look, all of yoga, it's only 3 things. 1, the dorsal vagal complex. That's the first key. 2, the left amygdala of love and bliss. That's the second key. Expansion, the right hippocampus. That's the third key. And that's it. That's really all it is. Oh my God, it's so big, it's so complex. Yeah, sure. But at its heart, it's really, really simple. And I've given you the most precise, the most boiled down version of pranayama on the face of the planet. There's no better technique to introduce you to the parasympathetic system. That HRV resonance, it's getting to the heart of the dorsal vagal complex immediately. No waiting around, no wandering in the dark for 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 years. We're going to go straight to the heart of it immediately. That's the first key. It's your parasympathetic, and it's so gorgeous, so gorgeous. So I hope that you loved this. If you did, be sure to hit that bell down below so I can see all of you